All right, top of it, top of it. It's your boy Coach One Stack, man. We tapped in, y'all. Hope everybody having a blessed day, and hope everybody having a prosperous day. Man, thank you guys for supporting the channel. And today, man, we're gonna talk about Big U being granted some permission to go to his son's funeral. And before we get into that, man, go ahead and do me a favor. Just like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, because you know I'm going to drop something, man, that's going to give you some understanding about how this situation is going to work. You know, not only because, you know, I've actually taken people to funerals when I was law enforcement, but I just know these things. So just sit back and buckle up and ride. So, you know, it's tragic that Big U even lost his son. You know, I don't have to get into that story. It's been told way too many times. And I don't believe in getting on here and playing with, you know, somebody's kid's story and playing with their death, thinking that it's a joke. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's serious stuff. So it's bad enough that Big U is locked up for what he's locked up for, which has no bearing on this story. But the thing is, his son was deleted. So now Big U needs to go to the funeral. And he's been granted permission to go to the funeral. So here's how this is going to go, people. A lot of y'all wondering, man, are they going to just let him out for the weekend? Are they going to let him out for a couple of hours? Or what are they going to do? Well, I can tell you what that protocol is. It's a few ways that they do it. First of all, since he's received permission, 9 out of 10 times, Big U's family is going to have to pay for overtime for the officers to transport him to the funeral, number one. That just goes without saying. And another reason I know, because my dad worked in corrections for 32 years, and he took plenty of people to funerals, you know, that was inmates. So he's going to have to pay for the overtime. Now, this is where it gets tricky. Is Big U going to be able to wear a suit, or is he going to have on his prison, his county blues? Well, the thing is, out here in Las Vegas, when you get granted permission to go to a funeral, it all depends on the officers, to be quite honest with you. A lot of this depends on the officers, you know. I can tell you this, you know, the proper protocol is that Big U, due to the validity of his case, he will more than likely be handcuffed. Now, they won't handcuff him in the back. More than likely, he'll be shackled to his waist. His hands will be shackled to his waist. They won't put any leg irons on him or anything like that. He won't have to show up in his county blues. They're more than likely going to put him in a suit, have some, you know, some shackles, some waist shackles on, and no leg irons. Okay, now, so, you know, they don't want to, you know, they already know that he's going through some things. And being the figure that he is, he does have a lot of influence in the jail. So they already know that he's already have some issues behind his son being gone, and definitely some guilt issues with what he's locked up for, taking somebody else's son's life. And, you know, he got a whole lot of karma going on. So, you know, it's going to really be up to the officers and how they're feeling and what the judge says, because the judge can put the court order together to say, hey, this is how it's going to go, period. But it's normally up to the officers. So now he could have, he might have a suit on. And so now they're going to transport him to that funeral. And depending on who the officers are and his relationship with them, you know, they're going to sit on either side of him. Now, will he be able to walk up there and view his son's body? Yes, of course he will. But more than likely, he will either be first or he will be last, only because, you know, the officers don't want to take a chance of, let's just say you let him walk up there by himself, and for some reason, somebody didn't put a damn handcuff key in the casket, or one of his family members slip him a handcuff key and he gets up out of there. Or better yet, you walk up to the casket, or they let him walk around by himself, you know, at this funeral, and, you know, somebody passes him a firearm or some type of weapon, and now, you know, the officer's life are in danger. And let's not forget the fact, you know, because they wear this color right here, that baby blue, the Rolling 60 Crip gang, not speaking up on Rolling 60 business, but due to the fact that there will be so many gang members there, they will take extra precaution with taking him to that funeral. Because they don't even want the people watching to start pulling out guns and make some type of attempt escape on Big U's behalf. Because believe it or not, that would actually be the perfect place at a funeral full of nothing but Crips and a few officers. Because they're only going to have probably about like 2 to 4 officers. I know out here in Las Vegas, they used to send 2, but in Big U's case, he's going to have to pay. So however many officers that they say that he needs, he's going to have to pay for that overtime. So like I said, so let's say he has some cool officers that kind of just tell him from the jump, hey man, we're going to let you kind of roam around and hang out with your family. But if it's any funny shit, we going home. All right. That means that they might let him out. He'll have his waist shackles on, and they'll be watching him close. They'll be close by, looking at them hand movements, looking at other people, not letting people get behind them. Because believe it or not, the biggest, I'm actually surprised that they even allowed Big U to go to his son's funeral due to his status in the Crip community and in the community, period. Because like I said, this could turn into some big ambush at the end of the day. This could turn into people crashing out over Big U so he can get free and go to damn Booker, go to Cuba and start a whole new life. That's how the police think. So, they're going to keep an eye on him and, let him mingle with his family and definitely keep a watch on on the hand movements, and they won't let him get in crowded circles and things like that. But it all depends on the officer, people, So, I definitely want to break it down a few ways, but let's say they got the dickhead officers. So we talked about they got cool officers. If they got dickhead officers, what's going to happen is he's going to be shackled to his waist, and wherever he go, they go. They, really, they don't even have to allow him to talk to anybody because, the family normally sits on the front row, and it may be an officer on each side of him, and he may not even be able to sit on the front row depending on the officers because obviously, like I said, they don't want somebody passing him a handcuff key, giving him some type of weapon, being ambushed in any sort of way. So they're going to watch everything. And they don't have to take him to the burial site. That's another thing. They got to let you, once you get the approval, they got to definitely take you to the funeral. But if any way, shape, or form, those officers feel like something is going to go on or the hair starts to stand up on the back of their neck, they have the right to take him up out of there and right back to jail because he's a security threat, y'all. See, it's sad. I really feel sad for him, and it's kind of karma in a way of what he's accused for. And this is what I tell you guys. You got to think about the people that you hurting before you take your ass to jail, because it could be worse that he could not go to the funeral. But you got to think about how many people are passing away while you sitting in jail for some stupid shit. So, like I said, he'll be allowed to go to the funeral. I see a lot of rumors on the internet about, how the police are going to treat him, this, that, and the third. Well, me being ex-police and a whole lot of things, I actually have done this before, so I can give you an honest opinion and tell you it's going to be really the officer's preference. It's going to be their preference of how they treat him. It's going to be their preference. I've known officers to actually take the inmate to the funeral, then take them to the burial, and actually take them to the repass and let them hang out with their family. I've actually seen them uncuff the offender at the repass and let them hang out with their family. But they would have that warning, like back in the old school days, that's what they used to do. But with all this new school stuff, I doubt that they will let him go to the repass. And even if they did, he will be shackled. Like, I don't expect those shackles to come off of Big U's arms until he gets back to the county jail, period and point blank, And guys, I don't really, I make a lot of different content. I don't really make videos like this, but I'm making this more so for people who are supporters of Big U and that really want to know and get an honest opinion from somebody who actually did that stuff, so you can know what to expect. Me personally, I had a cousin who passed away. He was deleted. He was banging, and both of his brothers and his father were locked up in the same penitentiary at the same time. But they chose not to come down for the funeral because, they didn't want to be embarrassed. They didn't want people looking at them in shackles. So they chose not to come to the funeral. You know what I'm saying? So that's the choice. And so like I said, I got a little bit of expertise in this area. But all in all, in my honest opinion, with Big U being who he is, he's an OG. He's a very smart man. He's a family man. I know he doesn't want anything negative to go on at his son's funeral. I'm sure he has told everybody, that's from his set or anybody attending, to stand down, not to start any mess whatsoever, because that would means that he ends up going back to jail without attending his son's funeral. So I think it's going to be a very peaceful day, to be quite honest with you. And then, his family get to see him, they get to touch him and all that. But like I said, it's all up to the officers at the end of the day. So, for those of y'all that have been asking them questions, man, I hope I answered your question. If Big U's family watching this, hey, man, praying for you, no matter, hey, we leave content on here, and we talk about certain things. At the end of the day, nobody wants to see anyone, going through this in any way, shape, or form on either side. It's just not the way God meant it to be. But, there you have it. Those are the ways that Big U will, attend his son's funeral. It's going to be the officer's preference. So, guys, definitely, like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it, repost it. This is something that rarely happens. People, going to their kid's funeral, and that's another thing before I get out of here. When somebody passes away, like, you got to be like close kin, like immediate kin, the majority of the time to even get to the funeral. You know what I'm saying? Most of the time they're not gonna let you out, but in his case they are. But it's just the officer's preference. It's no different than when you get stopped by the police and one might give you a speeding ticket today and the other one might not give you a speeding ticket tomorrow. It all depends on them. So at the end of the day, man, I hope the funeral goes well. I hope nobody starts anything. I hope that it's peaceful. So this man, regardless of what he's accused of, because he is innocent until proven guilty. So regardless of what he's accused of, he can, attend his son's homegoing, burial, and repass in peace. So he doesn't have to sit up in that jail and go crazy, because that's exactly what it would drive him to be, crazy, and probably get himself into more trouble, which he don't want, because he can't be there for his son like he want to. But other than that, guys, man, be blessed. Never get stressed. Make sure you never get finesse, and always get plenty of rest, and stay the heck out of trouble. Have a blessed day.